Your mom was an orphan. Your dad left home.
He was an orphan also.
What did each of them tell you about their situations growing up?
They didn't talk much about it, but there was a toughness. Both growing up in orphanages, or in my father's case, really just running from apartment to apartment.
And why?
Because they had no money. So it was a bunch of kids. It was a home where they were not able to live for some bad reasons. And so they decided to set off on their own as a group of brothers and sisters. So it was a lot of street hustling, of selling whatever you could get on the street, and usually they could not make the rent, and after 3 months they would just bolt and get another place. And so there was that toughness. I was lucky to be around that. Usually if the parents have a tough life, the kid's life is too easy and they screw up, and then their kids get tough, hopefully. You know, it tends to be an up and down cycle of even in culture, you know, we're in the soft period now.
Well, and so it wasn't like that for you. So you've spoken about how it never, correct me if I'm wrong, like never hugged you, never told you he loved you, never threw a ball with you.
No, but there was a lot of love in my house.
Well, and you said like you and your sister and your parents were almost like roommates in a way, and you called it complete neglect, but in like the best way possible.
Benign neglect is how I was raised. But my parents were very loving, but parents in the 50s and 60s did not express it outwardly like parents do today. There was no emotional hole in my life that people love to say, comedians, that's why they do this. They're filling some emotional need. I have always rejected that very strongly.
What was the hardest part of that kind of self-reliance?
There's nothing hard about it. I mean, I knew I wanted to live a difficult life. I craved a difficult circumstance.
Why?
I don't know, but I think you just know it sometimes when you're a kid. I don't want to do anything easy. And that's why when I found stand-up and I became that thing, I was so gratified and comfortable. You know how much difficulty is the right amount for you. Too much is not good, not enough is not good. There's a range that we all seek as humans.
But you'll push it.
I'll
pretty
push
hard,
it.
yeah.
I will push it.
I think your mom was a bookkeeper for a time, primarily a housewife. Your dad was in World War II in the Pacific. He was supportive of your ambition.
Yes.
And he passed when I think you were 30.
Right.
Somebody said to you after his passing that now your career is really going to take off. Explain that train of thought.
I think sometimes you don't want to surpass your father. You feel bad. You feel bad about it. You feel uncomfortable.
Subconsciously, you
Subconsciously.
think the case for you too?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
He had this box of jokes, and you wrote in sign language, "There's never been a professional comedian with better stage presence, attitude, timing, or delivery." Elaborate on that if you don't mind.
I mean, he had it all. As talk about, you know, someone who was talented. He never had any opportunities or venue.
He was a salesman.
He was a salesman, but he told me he had thought about it, but didn't know, you know, there was no, now there's so many entry points to be a comedian. You go to a club, there's audition night. You know, in 1930, I don't know how people did it. I guess they worked their way in vaudeville somehow. But he never had that opportunity. But he had every possible tool you could have. And I learned it all from him. I got the whole thing from him.
How so?
Well, a lot of it's genetic. Yes.
Oh, come on.
Graham, you can't deny that there's a genetic component to this.
A genetic comedic gene?
Sure. How do you make these calculations? It's in your brain that there's a processor to calculate these lines, these words, they're.
I mean, maybe
the
you had a good
calculations
mentor.
of comedy are minute and precise. And you either get it right and there's a big laugh, or you miss a word and there's dead silence. And the difference between those two sounds is a lot of money.